The night was alive with rain. Drops fell like needles on Yu's bare arms, soaking her hair and clinging to her face. Her dress, once a delicate shade of ivory, was run. The silk had catch fire when she tried to iron it, and now it clinged to her damp skin, burned and torn. Her sister-in-law, shouting, still echoed in her ears, "You worthless girl, how could you run this? Get out!" Your lips quivered as she tried to speak, but no words came. Her brother didn't move. He never cared. She had been living in a house that was never a home, where her beauty and innocence were a burden and mistakes were punished with cruelty. She had nowhere to turn. The woman shoved her towards the door, and Yui stumbled out into the cold night. Rain poured from the sky, drenching her. She hugged herself tightly, shivering, her feet slipping on the wet pavement. Every shadow seemed alive, every corner hiding danger. She walked aimlessly, the sound of her own heartbeat deafening. Eventually, she found herself in a narrow alley, water running down the stone walls in thin streams. She could see movement ahead, shouts and screams that made her stomach twist. Three men were beating another, their hands and weapons ruthless. She frozen, unable to look away. Then one of the men saw her. "Hey, get here," one of them barked. Before she could move, they grabbed her. A pain shoot through her body as she fell to the wet ground, her lips split, blood running down her chin. Her nose stung, elbow scraped raw, and knees spun from the fall. Her torn sleeves clenched to her arms, soaking in rain and blood. "Quiet, or you will be next," one growled, pressing her against the wall. You tried to struggle but slipped on the wet stones. Fear paralyzed her. Her breaths come in short, shadow gasps. She tried to make herself small, invisible, but it was useless. Suddenly, the sound of engines and boot hitting the alley echoed through the rain. Shadows moved at the entrance, and the tall figure emerged. Rain slid down his sharp jawline, coat dark and dripping. Behind him, his gang appeared, silently deadly. The men holding you frozen, their confidence vanished instantly. Taehyung walked forward, calm, controlled, and merciless. One of the attackers slunk with a knife. With one swift move, Taehyung twisted his wrist. The knife clattered to the ground. Another man fired a gun, but before the bullet left the chamber, a clean, sharp shoot ended him. The rain splashed against the walls, mixing with blood and scams. You pressed herself to the wall, trembling violently. Her blood ran and tears bled into every touch from the attackers had left her flinching, terrified. She closed her eyes shut, wishing she could disappear. When the last man fell, silent settling over the alley, Taehyung's eyes shifted, scanning the area, and then they stopped on her. You frozen, every instant screaming to run. He stepped closer and she flinched violently even at his smallest movement. Taehyung's voice was low, dangerous, like silk wrapped around steel. He raised his gun. "You were with them." Your heart stopped. "No, please, I don't." She slammed, her voice breaking. "I don't help them. Don't kill me." The rain blurred the edges of his dark eyes. He looked at her closely, her trembling forms of hair pressed to her face, white, terrified eyes, the cuts and blood on her skin. For a heartbeat, his hand frozen on the trigger. Her beauty hit him like shock. He lowered the gun slightly, disbelief mixing with something he had never felt before. She was drenched, bleeding, terrified, but more fragile and beautiful than anyone he had ever seen. "You are beautiful," he whispered, almost to himself, not a compliment but a claim, possessive, dark and obsessed. "You fear intensified." She pressed herself against the wall, trembling, her voice barely above a whisper. "Please, I will not tell anyone, I swear." Taehyung gaze darkened, his fingers tightened on the gun, but it on longer felt like a weapon to harm her. It was a declaration, silent but absolute. She belonged to him now. "You shivered violently, rain soaking her to the bone, her heart racing as every intent told her to flee. But the man in front of her, tall, ruthless, unstoppable, had decided she was his. "You understand," he murmured, stepping close. She could feel the heat of him even in the downpour. "You could barely not." Fear rooting her to the spot, her mind raced. "I have to run, I have to hide, but how?" The storm raged, the alley slick with blood, water and chaos, but all Taehyung saw was her small, fragile, terrified, and in that instant his obsession began, full and unrelenting. She whispered again, barely audible, "Don't kill me." His expression softened in a way no one had ever seen him show, yet it was still sharp, dark, dangerous. The mafia king who had destroyed gangs without a second thought now stood frozen for a fleeting moment, captivated by her. "You are mine," he murmured almost to himself. You flinched at his voice, at the closeness, at the intensity. She wanted to scream, push him away, but her body refused to obey. Every part of her was terrified, yet utterly trapped. In the rain-soaking alley, the most ruthless man in Seoul had found the one thing he could never ignore, and Yu's life had changed forever. Fear consumed her, but so did he knowledge that he was completely focused on her. Taehyung drags Yu and forcefully makes her sit in the car. She is terrified, pleading with him not to take her, begging him to let her go, but he ignores her cries, his grip unyielding. Yu's fear deepens as she remembers how mercilessly he has killed others just like this gunman. A chilling thought crosses her mind. If she refused to obey him now, he would not hesitate to shoot her. The car ride was silent except for the soft patter of rain against the tinted window. You sat in the back seat, nails pressed to her chest, arm wrapped around her self, every muscle in her body trembling. Her lips were swollen and burst, her elbow and knees rough for the alley, yet the worst pain was the terror crawling through her chest. She didn't understand who this man was, why he had killed so many people to save her, yet look at her as though she belonged to him. Every fringe, every twist of her hand seems to draw his attention. She shrunk further into herself, praying he would not notice her trembling. The car stopped in front of a large black mansion, its window dark, imposing and elegant. The rain made the dial fade glossy, reflecting the mansion's ominous silhouette. Guards flanked the entrance, their eyes sharp, muscular stance. You tried to step out, but Taehyung's hand shot forward, gripping her arm with a strength that made her gasp. "You stay close," he said, voice low and dangerous. "You frozen, please, I don't want to go inside," she whispered. Taehyung gaze darkened. It was the kind of look that promised pain if she disobeyed, yet under it there was something more, an obsession that made her blood run cold. Inside the mansion was a dark as the night outside. The furniture gleamed black, scented with gold, everything pristine but cold. The smell of expensive perfume and leather filled the air. Taehyung's mother stood in the hall, arm crossed, eyes narrowed, clearly displeased. "What is this? Who is she?" she asked, voice sharp. She stays. Tomorrow is my wedding, Taehyung said, his tone flat but full of steel. Yu's heart tugged. Painful wedding, she thought, panic rising in her chest. She was too scared to speak. Taehyung didn't even glance at his mother. Taehyung's mother lives angrily because she knows her son's aggressive nature. He guided you to black leather chair. Your injuries, he said, cutlery, pulling a small medical kit from a table. Please, I didn't need, she began, but he ignored her with a pleased movement. He treated her warmth. His hands were cold, skilled, and unflinching. Every touch made her flinch, her body tensing involuntarily. The brush of his fingers over her scarred elbow made her knees shake. You are very fragile, he muttered almost to himself. His dark eyes scanned her entire body, lingered just a movement too long. The water made your stomach twisted. She tried to pull her arm away, but his grip tightened just enough to remind her that he controlled everything. After treating her injuries, he looked at her with possessive plate. You belong to me now, he said simply. The word was a statement, not a question. You pressed catch her lips, trembling. She didn't understand how a man could be so calm, so ruthless, yet so obsessed with someone as small and frightened as her. The next day, in the grand chamber of the mansion, Taehyung performed the Korean traditional wedding. You sat frozen tears streaming down her face, soaking tears still clinging into her cheeks. She tried to resist, but his hand or hands was unyielding, possessive, controlling every movement, every whisper, caught an unspoken message. She had no choice. She couldn't escape. Do you understand? He asked, voice low and dangerous, as he adjusted the ceremonial rope around her. You shook her head, unable to speak. He held her hand, go, then catch her gaze with his dark, unblinking eyes. You will call me husband. You will obey me. No one else matters, he said. Tone final, her chest tightened. The fear was paralyzing, every muscle in her body trembling. She wanted to escape, to run, to disappear, but he was everywhere, his presence suffocating, inescapable. The rain tapped hard on the windows, making the mansion feel colder. You sat on the edge of the bed, her hands shaking, her heart racing. She had never felt this scared. Taehyung stood by the door, tall, dark, and dangerous. His eyes never left her. Each step he took made her flinch, her body tense with fear. You are shaking, he said softly, almost teasing. Good fear keeps you alive and makes you real to me. You whispered, I am scared. Tears filled her eyes. She didn't move. He walked closer, brushing a wet strand of hair from her face. She flinched violently. Do you know why I choose you? He asked. She shook her head. You are mine, he said simply. Every part of you, every breath, every heartbeat. He guided her gently to lie down on the bed. Relax, he said, his voice low but commanding. He stayed close, holding her carefully, letting her feel his warmth. You shivered, upright yet a little calmer. Close your eyes, he whispered. She obeyed, trembling. Tonight you will learn I am yours, completely fair and trust. You are the same with me. Slowly he moved beside her, her hands steady her. He whispered until her breath slowly, her muscles relaxed, though her heart still raced. Finally, your eyes grew heavy. Taehyung watched her carefully, making sure she was safe, possessive yet protective. She drifted to sleep, still trembling but alive, knowing he would not let anything happen to her. Morning came and you wore a beautiful frock, hair washed and silky, but the fear remained. The soft knock on the door made her you jumped. Miss you, breakfast is ready, the maid said gently, smiling. You nodded nervously and followed her, still feeling tense. After the night, the hallways of the mansion seemed enormous and cold. When Taehyung saw her, he froze. She looking so pure, so innocent, so impossibly delicate. His eyes, dark eyes, softened for a brief second, though the possessiveness in them was still strong. He couldn't look away. "Ah, you are quite beautiful," his mother said, smirking as she sipped her tea. "But clever too. My son is trapped now, thanks to you." Her teasing tone made you shrink back silently. The maid guided you to the dining table, placing her carefully beside the Taehyung. The table was filled with breakfast, but you could barely focus on the food. Her heart racing, and every glance from him made her flinch. Taehyung didn't speak, only watched her quietly, as if memorizing every detail of her delicate features, her trembling hands, her hesitant movement. Taehyung's mother, still displeased, made mocking remarks about her appearance and demanded, "Look at her sock in yesterday dirt, and yet she dare sit here. The woman is neat." Taehyung hand shot out, slamming down on the table. "Enough." His voice was sharp, final. The mother recoiled, and Yu's heart raced. The possessiveness and jealousy in his tone were unmistakable. Yu flinched as his hand brushed against her while pressing her a cup. It was tiny, casual touch, but her body reacted violently. Every part of her screamed fear. She wanted to move away, but he held her gaze, the dark obsession in his eyes freezing her in place. For you, the mansion was no longer at a home, it was guided prison. Every glance, every movement of Taehyung's was a reminder she was his completely. The night crept through the heavy curtains of the black mansion. Golden rays touched the marble floor, but even the light felt cold inside this place. Yu sat on the edge of the massive bed, her fingers trembling as she clutched the hem of her soft frock. She looked small in the room, fragile, like she didn't belong. Her eyes were swollen from crying through the night. She hadn't slept. Every crack of the floor, every shadow, every sound made her flinch, terrified that Taehyung would appear and drag her closer. He hadn't touched her in bed, not in the way she had feared, but his presence was forced. His dark eyes had stayed on her for hours, watching steady, owning her without a word. Now, on a full day, her body still shocked with fear. A knock came at the door. Yu's shoulder jumped violently. She hugged herself, voice breaking. "Who is it?" The door opened without permission. Taehyung stepped in, dressed in a perfectly tailored black suit, hair styled neatly. His cold aura filled the room. He didn't smile, didn't greet her. His eyes scanned her from head to toe, as if checking if she was still there, still his. "You are ready," he said simply, not a question, a command. You lowered her gaze quickly, afraid to meet his eyes. I don't want to eat," she whispered. Taehyung's footsteps joined as he crossed the room. She flinched with every step until he was standing before her. With one hand he gripped her chin, forcing her face upward. His touch was cold, strong, unyielding. "You don't get to decide that," he said softly, but his tone was sharper than any knife. "You are my wife now. You sit with me, you eat with me, you breathe because I allow it." Tears break through tears, she nodded quickly, too terrified to resist. Her entire body trembling under his touch. At dinner, the long table was set with golden plates, streaming dishes, and silver glasses. Maid stood silently along the walls. Taehyung sat at the head of the table, Yu at his side. She felt the weight of his gaze on her constantly, like a chain around her neck. Taehyung's mother sat across, eyes sharp with disapproval. She clicked her tongue, shaking her head. "This girl doesn't belong here," she said coldly. She looked pathetic, just a weak thing that wandered in from the streets. "How embarrassing from you, Taehyung." You lowered her head, cheek burning, hands tightening on her lap. Every cruel word stamped at her chest. She wanted to disappear. "Enough," Taehyung said, voice like steel, his eyes sharp and dangerous, locked on his mother. "Say any other word about her, and I will forget you are my blood." The silence that followed was suffocating. Your heart pounded so hard she thought it might break. Taehyung turned his gaze back to her. His anger softened into something else, still dangerous but filled with obsession. He picked up a glass of water and placed it before her. "Drink," he ordered. Her fingers shook as she reached for it, their hand brushing, and she flinched so violently the glass nearly slipped. Her eyes darkened instantly, looking into her trembling form. "Why do you pull away?" she asked softly, dangerous, leaning closer. I used," stumbled, her voice barely audible. "I am scared." He tightened his head, studying her like she was puzzled. He was determined to solve. His lips curved into a faint smile, but it was not gentle, it was possessive. "Good," he whispered, close enough for only her to hear. "Stay scared. Fear keeps you close, and I want you close." Her chest tightened, her breath shallow. She couldn't look at him, couldn't break under his intensity. Every fiber of her being screamed to run, but her legs refused to move. Taehyung leaned back in his chair, satisfied. He began eating slow, calmly, but his eyes never left her. Each time she moved, even slightly, he noticed every flinch, every trembling head. Feed his obsession. To him, you was not just a girl. She was his obsession, his weakness, his obsession, and he would not let her go. After dinner, he rose and extended a hand. She hesitated, frozen in fear. "Stand," he ordered. Her body obeyed before her mind could resist. She stood trembling and placed her small hand into his. The moment his skin touched hers, she flinched again, trying to pull back. Taehyung grip tightened. He leaned closer and whispered in her ear, voice low and dark. "Stop running from me. The more you fight, the more I will chain you to mine." Her body raised, tears starting to fall. She whispered desperately, "Please let me go." Taehyung's jaw tightened, his eyes burning into her. He tightened her chin upward, forcing her to meet his gaze. "You don't understand yet," he said, a voice sharp but steady. "You belong to me. No one will take you, not even that." Yu's knees nearly plucked. She felt faint, dizzy, suffocated by his words. Her mind screamed for escape, but her body was paralyzed in his grasp. As he led her out of the dining room, guards' eyes followed them, but no one dared interfere. Everyone knew Kim Taehyung was merciless, notorious, feared by all, and now his obsession had a name. "It's you." She was terrified, trapped, broken, but she knew one thing with chilling certainty: this was only the beginning.